Let's have a conversation.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. Good evening to everyone out there watching. I'm going to wait a little bit for people to jump in here, but good evening to those who are watching now. And shout out to the replay crew for those who are going to watch this later. Thanks for being here. I haven't connected with you guys in a while. I've been connecting through the community page and my posts, but I haven't actually done a live that's directly for y'all in a while. So I just wanted to jump up on here and just kind of see how everyone's doing and talk about a topic that is important to me. Hey, Ashley, how are you doing today? Hope your day is going well. Hope your day went well. I am going to get into this topic shortly. But before I get into the topic, I just want to remind everyone, if you like my page, if you like the content, if you're enjoying the experience you get when you come onto this page, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. If you feel so compelled, my Cash App information is on the screen and super chats are available. Good, just got off work. So, okay, I prepared a little something. To talk about. As you guys can see by the title, I said that the title is How Positivity Saved My Life. Hi, Shai. Good evening. The title is How Positivity Saved My Life. I believe that's the title. How Positivity Saved My Life and Why I Won't Compromise. Thank you, StreamYard, for having that at the top of the screen for me to read, because I would have forgotten that whole second half. The person that you guys see today was not always this person. Everybody in my life now, everybody who meets me now, knows me as the positive person. The person that has a brighter outlook than the average person, the one who boosts people up, the one who makes people laugh and smile, all of that stuff. But that was not always the person that I was, or rather, I should say, that's not always the person that I projected out to the world. This was 2013. And I would say that my life was in danger at that time. Now, there's a reason why I was looking like that at that time, believe it or not. And I attribute a lot of that to negative thinking. In about 2012, I was diagnosed with general anxiety disorder and clinical depression, as I have mentioned on my channel before. And for me, at that time, that was like a death sentence. I'm like, who wants that? I'm like, first of all, where did this come from? How could I just have a disorder, like a mental health disorder, out of nowhere? Hi, Trisha. Good evening. I'm like, how could I have a mental health disorder out of nowhere? And in fact, I didn't even believe that I had one. So I just hopped on Google, looked up ways to get rid of this without having to go to any therapy and without having to really talk or communicate with anyone about it. Led me down a rabbit hole. I wanted to do everything but the self-work required to get me out of there. Now, everything was going fine in my life for the most part. I had just finished school. This was me. I had just graduated from university. I got my business degree, and that's supposed to be one of the best times of your life, right? But it was a stressful time. It was a time where I was trying to figure out my place in the world. It was a time where I got out of school thinking that this business degree was going to shoot me up the ladder, and I was going to skip some steps. And I don't really say skip steps lightly, because it's work to get a degree. I spent time and work on that degree. Hi, ladies and Mark. Hi, Trisha. Hey, Lisa. Yeah, I spent time and effort to get that degree. So I thought that automatically I was going to be boosted above the average person. But when I started doing these job interviews, it was like, okay, what experience do you have managing? And I'm like, well, what experience am I supposed to have? I was in school. I know a lot of people face that same problem. Like, I was in school. So I was being offered these management trainee positions that were paying me slightly above minimum wage. Hi, MC. They were paying me slightly above, they were offering me, slightly above minimum wage. And contrary to what my parents wanted me to do, I decided to work in a factory job. The factory job was hard. It was like a lot of manual labor. It was back-breaking work. I still have injuries from doing that work. And that was, 2011 or so? 2011, 2012. I still have injuries from that factory work. But the reason I did that instead of the management trainee is because the management trainee was offering me, I think, $8.50 an hour, something like that. And minimum wage in New York was about $7.40 at that time. And the factory job was giving me $11, $12 an hour or something like that. So I'm like, it's paying an extra $4. So I'd rather do that than do one of these, start at the bottom rung of the ladder. I'm sorry about the focus. I don't really know. Maybe I have my autofocus on or something, but it doesn't usually do that. But anyways, yeah, Lisa, it definitely is. And you spend a lot of money and time on education. But anyways, I wasn't happy with where my life was at that time. And it ended up manifesting itself within my body. I believe that's how I ended up with those diagnoses. Find a good chiropractor, adjustments, traction, and exercise. Well, I do go to the chiropractor. It's helping somewhat, but I digress. I consider anxiety the anxiety disorder, the overthinking disorder. I consider depression the negative thinking disorder. So I was a person who held a lot of negative thoughts all the time. And I mean, I still do. We all do. There's nobody that doesn't have a bunch of negative thoughts going through their head every day, right? Because scientific studies have showed that 80% of our subconscious thoughts are negative. So if you're just sitting around, those are great definitions. Thank you. Thank you for that. So if you're just sitting around, right, thinking about nothing, and you're unintentional about your thoughts, has anyone just sat down and their mind goes to, what if I have a wonderful day? What if I find $100 on the ground? What if I win the Powerball? Does your mind usually automatically go towards those types of thoughts? Or do you think about your bills? Do you think about fractured relationships? Do you think about the stresses of raising your kids or, your families? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. 80%. 80%. Yeah. So I was somebody who didn't realize that I was drowning in negative thinking, literally drowning in negative thinking. And I would hold those thoughts all day. And I didn't feel like I was a negative person at all, because a lot of the same things you hear me say today, I was saying back then, except I wasn't really believing that. I wasn't really internalizing that. I'm going to throw a quote on the screen. Happiness is when what you think, what you say, and what you do are in harmony. I'm going to read that one more time. Happiness is when what you think, what you say, and what you do are in harmony. So, what you think, say, and do are in harmony, right? So, it was something that I was saying. I was one of those people that would post the positive quotes in the morning, but it was not what I was doing, and it was not what I was living. Yeah, so I'm going to read these comments because this is an interactive discussion. That's what I like to do. Bill's relationships, yes. So she's saying that as a response to where the thoughts go when you're not intentional with your thinking. I think about my family needs, not my want. Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. So when I finally got this reality check, oh, pretending to be happy, I know all about that. I'll tell you guys, when I finally got this reality check about who I really was in therapy. Because during that time that I showed you guys that picture of me where I was unkept, the beard was crazy, and I wasn't going outside that much. I wasn't talking to too many people. I had a big complaint, and my complaint was about my friends leaving my side during my time of need. And for those who have been following this page, you know about it because I've spoken about it before, but I'm going to mention it again. In 2012, 2013, I lost 90% of my friends. And some of it was just friends that needed to go anyways in retrospect. But some of the friends were people that were trying to be in my life. And I wasn't allowing space for that. Let me read this comment here. Like when you say to appease people aren't in alignment with your true heart. Yeah. What was happening with these friends is that I felt so down about where my life was. I got diagnosed with this anxiety. I had just moved out of my house, my parents' house, for the first time. I went to work and live on my own. While at work, I started getting these panic attacks. I went to the doctor. I tried to fix the panic attacks. And when nothing was working, I ended up disclosing to my boss. Unfortunately, I got fired from the job. I moved back home. That's a very depressing situation to finally ascend to a certain point, finish school, graduate, start working for the first time on your own, and then within a year have to come running back home because you had somewhat of a breakdown. So when I talked to my friends, this was evident. The way that I was feeling inside was evident to them. And if they would ask me, how you doing, Mark? I would be telling them, doing terrible. I'm broke. I have no money. I have an anxiety disorder and clinical depression, and I don't know how to resolve it. And this is what I was telling them day after day after day. So when I finally caved in, I guess, and started seeing a therapist, a licensed clinician, they told me that I was a part of the problem unintentionally. So I wondered how. And the therapist asked me, do you offer anything to your friends aside from this negativity about your life? And I honestly didn't have a good answer to that. Let me read this comment really quick. Factories fire people if they get injuries also. Oh, Trisha, I don't want to get too far off track, but I have a story about that too. I'm going to throw the story in there briefly if I can. At this factory, it was a electronics recycling factory. And we would get these big boxes of old electronics. You'd get the old printers, we would get the old TVs. And if anyone knows, the old TVs with those big wooden ones with the knobs and all that. And we had to dismantle them. Dismantling them was a task. First, you had to take the sledgehammer, hammer off the wooden sides off of the TV, and then put the wood in the wood pile. And then you had to clip the wires off the back of the TV, unscrew the tube. And if y'all know those TVs, they were not like these HD, whatever they're called nowadays. Whatever these light TVs that we can take from the store that are like 72 inches, and you can easily just lift it up and put it in your car. Those huge tubes that were extremely heavy. And technically, we were supposed to have 2 people lifting the tube if it was more than 40 pounds. But here was the thing. We had number requirements of how many pounds we had to move per day. So nobody wanted to stop and help you. Nobody wanted to stop and help you lift the tube once you got down to that part of the TV. So I tried to lift it myself. And I remember I lifted it up and then my wrist just gave out and it just fell out of my hand and crashed all over the floor. And then all the little, I forgot what those things are called, but there's these dangerous flakes that you should not be inhaling that come from those old tubes. And they had to spray it with the water bottle and all that. So my wrist was just shaking and swollen and red. So we had a safety inspector in the job. And I remember I went to the safety inspector and he said, "What happened?" I told him, I said, I was dismantling the TV. I got to the tube. I tried to lift it and something happened with my wrist and I messed it up. So he says, "Okay, let's go back on the floor and see what you can do." So he did this evaluation where he tried to have me hold things and lift things to see what I was able to do, which was nothing. This wrist couldn't hold a feather at that point in time. So he tried to send me home. He was like, "Hey, go home for the day, sleep it off, and if it still bothers you in the morning, we'll send you to the doctor." And even at that point in time, and this is one of my first jobs, I was like, I'm not going home. I got this injury here. So y'all need to fill out an injury report like now and send me to the hospital now, because I already know that if I go home with this injury and there's no written report about this injury, y'all will say that I got injured at home. So because I was so adamant, and common sense told me that, fortunately, because I've seen other people in that same job who did not have that same common sense and did not get what they needed to get from that. Went to the hospital, found out I had torn ligaments in my wrist, and ended up having to do like 6 months of physical therapy. And again, my wrist still isn't right. But anyways, yeah, that was a story. I know I'm way off track, but that's what that made me think of. But anyways, going back to what I was saying that the therapist told me. The therapist told me that she thinks that I am a positive person, but I was exuding toxic traits. And just hearing the word toxic, I was already not with this conversation. What are you talking about, lady? I'm a very positive person. I'm not negative. I don't really get into it too much with people. Lots of people have said I'm like a calming influence on their life. So what are you talking about? She was like, it's a toxic trait to empty your cup basically on others and not to ever fill their cup. And I'm somebody who doesn't just hear something right away and take it right away. And what I mean by that is, if you're telling me something about me that is negative or something that I don't like to hear, I'm not necessarily just going to jump and be like, oh, yeah, you're right. That's absolutely right. But I am somebody who will keep it here and marinate on it. So I marinated on that one for a few days. And I said, yeah, what do I provide for my friends in terms of filling their cup? I constantly just expect to dump all my burdens and problems on them and expect them to keep coming back to take my problems. And that didn't make any sense. So I asked this therapist, how do I change this formula of having these toxic traits that you're talking about? Because I said, I'm just honest. When they ask me how I'm doing, I'm just honest with them. And the therapist was like, okay, this is my suggestion. When you're having a bad day and they ask you how you're doing, you can absolutely be honest and tell them that you're having a bad day, but leave them and yourself with a positive spin. I'm having a bad day today. Today is one of the worst days I could possibly have because of whatever it is. But tomorrow is going to be a better day. It couldn't be any worse than today. Tomorrow is definitely going to be better. I got through today. It was a rough patch. And how are you doing? And that's the transition into talking to them and making this a reciprocal relationship where there's give and take. And then she was like, stop and listen to them. Maybe they had a bad day too. Maybe they had something to talk about with you that was happening with them. So I said, I hear you. But if I'm having like a really terrible time and a really terrible day, that's hard to do. To be like, oh yeah, it was a bad day for this, and tomorrow's going to be better, and then just transition into that. So she was like, give it a try. Practice it on some of your friends and come back and tell me, did it work? Did it not work? Right, makes sense. So I tried it. I remember I had a friend who asked me how I was doing. I tried that exact thing. I said, well, today wasn't a good day. Feeling really depressed. Such and such and such happened that made me feel this way. But, I made it through, and I know that tomorrow is going to be a better one for me. How are you? How are you doing? So then the friend proceeded to tell me about their day, how they were doing, the struggles that they faced. And actually, I noticed that it changed the dynamic of my relationships, because if you always walk into every conversation with this big burden, ready to drop it on the person that you're talking to, you start to, you might not notice it, but they start to want to avoid those conversations with you, because it's like, oh, I don't want to talk to Mark because Mark's going to talk to me about his depression. He's going to talk to me about how bad his day was. And either they will avoid you altogether, or they won't really want to get too much into conversations with you because of that. But when they know that, number one, you have like a positive outlook, and also you are willing to share their burdens, they become more willing to listen to yours, and the relationship becomes reciprocal, and it becomes more pleasant. So I had so many friends leave me during that time. And like I said, it was kind of a purge in a way. Not a purge that I intended it to be, but it became that way. And I had a chance to start over. I still have a few friends. I have a few loyal friends who I love dearly still in my life, but the majority of them were out the door. And as I started to build up my life again, build up my friendships again, and decide how I wanted my life to be, which, by the way, I think I have another quote here. Once you replace negative thoughts with positive ones, you will start having positive results. Okay. These reminders are great. Thank you. You're welcome. Her advice was awesome. Hard, but awesome. Absolutely, Shy. So I consider it, in a way, act as if, right? Because when I started doing this, I still was thinking negatively all the time. I was just like, I'm trying to do this different method just for the sake of trying what the therapist told me and maybe keeping my friends, maybe gaining some new friends, right? So that's what I started to do. My day was bad. I made it through. Couldn't get any worse tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be a better day. I started consistently thinking positively. I started consistently speaking positively. I started consistently having positive people around me. Shar, who I had on here, the life coach that I had on here, I think last week now, told me about an 80-20 rule that she has in life. And I know that probably some of you, or I know that I heard of the 80-20 rule in regards to fitness. 80% nutrition, 20% fitness. That's why I heard 80-20, right? So for her, she said that her rule is she allows 20% negativity in her life and 80% positivity intentionally. And that could include people, it could include negative people, it could include toxic TV shows, it could include toxic Twitter, Big Brother, toxic Twitter. It could be that, but you choose. You're like, I know that I can only allow this much in my life, because if I allow more than that, it's going to start to consume me and it's going to start to become who I am. I want to give you guys an example of something that happened to me in my college years. And I'm not going to go into a tremendous amount of details, but I had this girlfriend in college and I thought she was my girlfriend until I found out that she wasn't. And the way how I found out that she wasn't was that she was seeing somebody when I met her. She was still seeing that person when I asked her to be my girlfriend. And I found that out, and I was really angry and consumed with this anger and vengeance over this situation. So what I did was I found the guy. This is when Facebook first started to become a thing. And I found the guy, I messaged him. I gave him a lot of details about my relationship with his girlfriend. This happened. This is how I met her. I never heard of you, this and that. And I'm thinking to myself, this is going to make them break up. This is going to make them break up. And then she's going to feel the pain that I'm feeling because of the situation. He actually sent me a message back where he said, thank you so much for sending that message. It was hard to read, but now that everything is out in the open, we can work on our relationship, she and I, and we can fix things and we can make them better. This is going to be my wife. This is going to be my wife later on down the road. And I'm like, this did not go as I expected. And now I'm even more upset. So I went to great lengths to try to make sure that this relationship didn't remain a relationship. It stayed strong for some time. It ended, I don't know if due to me or if in part because of me, but by the time it ended, it was not really relevant to me at that time. But the point was, I was really consumed with the back and forth, and how I'm connecting that with today. Let me see Trisha's comment. It's true. Also bad to do opposite and say, yeah, I'm okay. Well, no, that's not exactly what I'm saying, Trisha. Not to say I'm doing okay when you're having a bad day. You can express the bad day that you're having. You can tell them honestly about the day that you're experiencing, but you are putting a positive spin at the end of your story. And what that does, it's not just about them, it's about you, because it plants a seed for the next day. Because you don't want to carry the burden of what happened today into tomorrow, because then tomorrow you're automatically going to start at a deficit. It's like wearing a weighted vest to bed. Wear that weighted vest to bed, and you wake up in the morning and it's hard to get out of bed. It takes more energy to do everything, right? So you're taking that vest off when the day ends and saying, this was today, and I'm not bringing this with me. Hi, Miss Geechee, how you doing? Yes, I get it. Yeah, I'm glad you get it. Yeah, there are definitely people who just say, I'm okay, I'm okay. And actually, guess what? I was one of those people. You asked me how I was doing, I would always tell you I was okay until I wasn't. So you do have to release that burden. So here's another thing. You don't always have to release that on your friends. Sometimes you need to find other ways. You need to find other coping techniques, other coping tools. Oh my gosh, live chat, awesome. Yeah, Teresa, I was saying it's been a while since I've just connected with y'all. I've been posting on the community, I've been doing interviews, but it's been a while since I have just talked specifically to all of you on a live. So I was like, you know what? Let me just hop on today. I want to do Wellness Wednesday every single Wednesday. I want to have a different message every single Wednesday. Y'all let me know a good time and if you are interested in being on that, because I'm going to be trying to do this every single Wednesday. But anyways, yeah, you don't want to carry the burdens of yesterday into the next day, but you also don't want to expect your circle to always take that burden from you. You need to find other ways. Possibly, you might need to talk to a therapist. Maybe you can find your favorite podcast. Listen to a podcast that promotes positivity or takes your mind to a different space. Maybe it's a hobby. Maybe you like cooking. Maybe you like sports. Maybe you like music. Maybe you like all of the above. Whatever it is for you, that thing for you that takes your mind to a different space where you don't have to focus on your problems all the time. And then also makes it so that you don't have to depend on people to solve your problems all the time. Because you can have a devoted, committed circle that knows what's going on with you and is willing to help you. But they're not always going to be available because we're all human. That's true. Other coping skills are so important. Yeah, agreed, Trisha. Agreed about finding other support. Unfortunately, but ironically, I found genuine people that helped me from online relationships. Tell me about it, Miss Geechee. Tell me about it. I found all of you to talk about this stuff that sometimes I don't even talk about with my personal friends on the internet. Which is so cool to me, because what it says to me is that what I am projecting out into the world, I'm getting it back. Especially because everybody says the Big Brother community is toxic. And I've seen many examples of that being the case, but I have not seen those examples being on my page. And even the ones that come to my page, they are not interested in staying because I don't provide them what they are looking for. Yeah, so it could be an online support group. That's another option as a coping group. You know, something that I have found, honestly, I was talking to another friend that I met online for a friend that is a fan of the challenge. And we chat back and forth online sometimes about different things going on. And we both realize it's honestly a little easier having these types of relationships online because the people that you're talking to online are not directly connected to your issue. It's almost like how it is when you talk to a therapist and the therapist is neutral. They don't know you, they don't know the other person, they don't know the family member, the friend, or whoever it is you're talking about. So you can just have an honest conversation where you get everything out. Yeah, Ms. Geechee, I'm not surprised. Actually, Ms. Geechee, your group there, your Discord group, is a really nice group. You know, I appreciated you inviting me into that group. I don't really use it's so hard for me. I don't really use all the apps. I'm trying to use more for business purposes, but apps can be overwhelming for me. But yeah, I'm glad that I have not experienced too much of that kind of community. But it's because of what I put out, is what I'm trying to say. If y'all saw my interview with John Brennan yesterday, or not yesterday, a couple days ago, I did this interview with John Brennan. There's so many different ways I could have gone with that interview. He appreciated the way that I did that interview, and not just him. There was somebody else that I had reached out to that I put on the community, which I'm sorry, but I'm just not going to say which person it was, but it was a Big Brother. It was somebody on the show. I've reached out to everyone on the show, or a lot of people from the show. And that particular person was just like, I like your approach. I looked at your page and I looked at some of your interview with John, and I like the safe space that you provide for us, whatever it said in that message. And I was like, wow. Because I remember some of you telling me that should be my angle when I'm doing these interviews. My angle should be the person who gives them that safe space to do that. Hi, Rory. Good to see you. Yeah. So as I started speaking the positivity, a special thing happened. It changed those automatic negative thoughts that I had in my head, right? So now, instead of me just saying, I had a bad day today, but tomorrow is going to be a better day, I started to feel that. I've had terrible days. This year has been a very hard year, contrary to how it might look. This year has been a terrible year for me. When I leave this live, I'm heading over to the hospital to see my dad. You know, like, it just has not been a good year. But my mind is programmed to automatically think positively about everything. And I've needed every ounce of that. So when anything threatens that positive space, now it has to go. No exceptions. No exceptions. It was an awesome interview. Great job, Mark. I'll give you an example. And I hate that all the examples revolve around exes, but this is another example. I had somebody who kept coming and talking to me about an ex of mine that they supposedly weren't friends with. This is what they're saying about you. This is who they're with now. This is what they said happened in your relationship. This is what they're saying about this. This is what they're saying about that. And at first, I was like, thank you. You're a good friend. Thanks for letting me know. Thanks for always keeping me abreast of all this information that this ex is saying about me, because I don't want all that in the streets, right? But eventually, I'm like, haven't been with this person in a while, irrelevant to me, don't really care what they're saying at this point in time. Why does this person who says they're my friend keep bringing me this information, right? I said to that person, the very next conversation, if you want to talk to me about current events in your life, in my life, things that are going on, don't talk to me about her anymore. I don't care. Okay. And also, I feel a little way about you being that messenger. Why are you always talking to her if you're supposedly my friend and listening to all this negative, false, whatever information, and then saying you're a friend for bringing it to me? And as you're talking to me, what are you saying to her? You're probably saying the same stuff to her or agreeing with her, whatever. So this person did not take kindly to me saying that. And but they disappeared. Once I cut off that source of like, hey, I don't want to talk about this toxic topic at all, they left. And that's typically what happens. This talk kind of goes with the other talk that I made about what's it called? Can't think of the name right now, but some of y'all were on that chat. Energy leeches. Sorry, I couldn't think of it on the spot. Oh, I missed a comment. I've been on a therapy/change my thoughts journey for a year now, and everything you say resonates. I'm glad about that. Trisha, I've done years of therapy. And you know what? There was a time when I was ashamed to say that. But the thing is, most people in their life never put in that kind of self-work, whether that's therapy or whether that's figuring those things out on your own. Most people are not willing to look at that reflection in the mirror and say, these are the things that I need to change about myself in order to change my life. Now, what I was just getting into before I read that comment, that's why when people bring negativity to my table, I pick up the dish and smash it on the floor. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to know about that. Keep that out of my space, because if I let that thing sit on the table, eventually I'm going to want to eat what's on the plate. I compare, people in my life know I compare everything to fitness and sports and stuff. Let's say I'm going on a diet, trying not to eat any fried foods, which is not true. I love fried foods. But let's just say that was the case, right? So that means the best thing for me to do is go out to the grocery store and plan out the groceries that I'm going to buy, only bring those things into the house, and then meal prep, right? Bake my stuff, steam it, air fryer, whatever it is. I'm not going to put things in there that are going to tempt me. So it's like if somebody brings that takeout with the fried chicken wings and I leave that plate in front of me, eventually I'm going to smell it. I'm going to want to taste it. And then I'm going to eat it. And then once I have one, I'm going to want to have another one. And then I'm going to want to have a bucket. And then I'm going to want to have fried rice. And then I'm going to want to have fried whatever, fried calamari. And then it's just going to keep going from there. And eventually I'm back off track. So if I allow that little bit of negativity, I entertain it and I indulge it, I respond to it, right? At first, it might not seem like anything because it's like, oh, that's just one thing that I responded to, or that's just one thing that I indulged in. No big deal. But then the place my mind had to tap into, the energy my mind had to tap into to go to that space is going to sit with me. And then I'm going to tap into that more for other things. And then it can throw me off track. And if you've been to the places where I've been, you would know I'm not willing to go off track. Absolutely not. That's why my block list on this YouTube page is so wild. If y'all saw my block list, I probably have as many people blocked as many people who follow me. Well, that's an exaggeration, but I do be blocking people. Let's see. Thanks, Shine. My life is still hard, but it's all about perspective now. Being grateful for everything, stopping the negative thoughts however possible. It becomes habit and it works. Yeah. I always say, Trisha, that you should act like the negative thoughts that enter your head automatically are a person standing next to you, telling you those thoughts. So if the person was right next to you, telling you the negative things that you're thinking, you would probably tell them to shut up and get out of your space. I say, tell yourself the same thing. Those thoughts are not welcome here. Hope it all works for you. I need to see a therapist myself. I applaud you for focusing on your mental health. It took me 40 years to find peace. Wow, Ms. Geechee, that's a long time. Self-reflection, but I'm glad that you did find peace, though. Self-reflection is hard, but worth it, and it never stops, for sure. The more therapy is talked about, the more it will be normalized. And I also have to say, I am a Black man who does therapy or who has gone to therapy and don't see any problem with it. It has given me strength and it has given me clarity. It has given me coping tools that I'm going to use for the rest of my life. Tools that I never had when I was being tough, strong, and silent. I hope you do. It changed everything for me. Yeah. It's so good that people are willing to admit they go to therapy now. Do you follow Charlemagne the God? Yeah, I do. I've seen him actually a couple of times. I mean, I've seen him on a couple of shows that I went to. Drew Barrymore and Good Morning America. He was actually promoting books that he had relating to mental health. I think one of them was called Anxiety Gets the Best of Me, I believe was the name of his book. Blocking the negative is beautiful. Protect your energy. Love the obstacle courses. That was something I was going to talk about too. I'll probably talk about it more extensively in its own podcast, I guess you could call this, or vlog. But when I started doing obstacle course races was when I first planned to do an obstacle course race with my friend in I think about 2012, and that's when the anxiety consumed me. So I backed out at the last minute. I thought I could never do one again because my anxiety was so bad. And after some years of work and building myself back up, a obstacle course race was on my plate, and I was like, some friends convinced me to give it a try. I tried it. The first obstacle was called Leap of Faith. Irony. The very first obstacle was called Leap of Faith. And all the obstacle was, you climb up a ladder, and I have like a slight fear of heights. You get to the top of a platform, and you jump off into a tarp. That's the whole obstacle. I think that's a stupid obstacle, if you ask me. But anyways, it was kind of symbolic for me because I stood up at the top of the platform holding it with the Bambi legs. Other people were jumping, and I was just standing there like I don't want to let go. And then I said to myself, what's the worst that can happen? I land funny. Well, I'll say that when I said what's the worst that can happen, so many things went through my head. I'm like, what if I land on my neck and snap my neck? What if I break my arm? What if I hit my back? What if the tarp just gives in and I just hit the ground? But then I was like, you know what? I'm already up here. So I need to just kind of let go and let God. I don't do trust falls. I've never done a trust fall in my life and I never will. Sorry. So this was my trust fall. So I let go. I jumped off. I didn't jump the proper way that they told me I was supposed to jump, which was like jump, tuck in your legs or something so that you land on your behind. And I landed all crazy, and I did kind of hurt my arm a little, but it wasn't anything major. But once I got off that obstacle, the next one that I reached became easier because I had already challenged myself to get through the first one. And it was a really huge moment for me. When I got to the end, I fell in love with those races, and I will do them until the wheels come off. Oh, I have been there, Trisha, Shy. I have definitely been there. My first one that I went to, I was in heavy denial. Heavy denial. Say it loud and strong, Mark. I'm assuming that that was a response to me saying that I've gone to therapy. Yeah, sounds like I agree. Sounds like you're ready now. Terry Crews also advocates for Black men getting therapy. Also, yeah, I follow all these people. I really do. Cool. Leap of faith. Yeah, it's so interesting that that was the first obstacle, and that's what it was called. Leap of faith. I see my therapist as well as a holistic coach now. Life isn't always easy or fair. Definitely not. Definitely not always easy or fair. Therapy has definitely helped me. I still have my rough days, but I do my best to speak more positivity in my life. And that's all, Rory, because like I said, we can't 100% control that. Look at what's going on in the world. Look at what's going on in the news. You know, look at what's going on outside. There's no way that you could live and be in this world and not have negative thoughts, but it's just exactly what you said. Speaking more positivity into your life intentionally, not randomly, intentionally. I do it in the morning, literally, out loud. I speak positivity into my life out loud when I wake up in the morning. I started going to the gym at like 5, 6 in the morning. When I wake up at that time, pin drop silence. And I live in New York City. At that time, nobody's up. And if they're up, they're probably at work. I get up, it's dark outside, there's not a sound, there's pin drop silence. I do positive affirmations, and then I go right to the gym because that's my happy place. I do those two things religiously. Starts my day off perfectly. Leap of faith activity needed. I'll figure something out, Teresa. I'm definitely going to figure something out that we can do together. Obviously, it's not going to be physical leap of faith, but we could figure out a leap of faith activity for sure on this page. Thanks, Shai. It's been a journey. These last 2 years have been really rough on me for so many reasons besides the pandemic. I'm glad you're here. I'm very glad you're here. Does exercise induce panic attacks get better? Oh, this is a big question, Trisha. You seem to be asking me big questions here. So when I had the worst part of my anxiety, the gym was out of the question because I experienced exercise induced anxiety, right? Unfortunately, for me personally, it doesn't go away 100%. But what I have learned is that when I start doing some intense exercise and it feels like my heart is just racing out of control, I stop what I'm doing and I take deep breaths, deep belly, diaphragm breathing. 4 count in and 8 count out. And I might do like 10 of those if I can, sometimes less. In videos, I have videos of me in the middle of a competition having an anxiety attack while somebody is recording me doing one of these fitness competitions. And it doesn't look like it because I pause and breathe for like 20 to 30 seconds and get right back into it. And also, Trisha and others, I have a book that my mom saved. It's a binder. I went to the hospital in 2013, I believe, 2012 and 13, over 30 times for panic attacks, thinking that they were heart attacks. No matter how many times they told me they were panic attacks, I believed they were heart attacks. And I went to the hospital over 30 times. They did chest x-rays and all that other stuff. They gave me like the asthma inhaler, which made it worse actually, because it's putting a steroid in there when it's not needed. They gave me Ativan. They gave me Xanax. I have not been to the hospital for a panic attack since, and that's almost 10 years. Yeah, it's rough, Trisha. It's rough. It can be rough. You have to this session is therapeutic for me. I'm glad, because there was a time before the pandemic when I used to do in-person group therapy sessions. And I haven't done that in 2 to 3 years. And that's a part of my soul. It's in me to do that. And I have lots of things to talk about because I used to do this weekly, every single week, 52 weeks a year without fail. So I want to do that here. Once I realized that there was a demographic of y'all that appreciate this material, I was like, why don't I do it right here? I have an audience for it that benefits from it. I do that too. Yes, I pray as well. And I used to journal. I'm not consistent with it. And by not consistent, I mean I haven't done it in a long time. But there was a time when I did it and it benefited me. It definitely helps Shy. Oh yeah, Miss Geechee. Yoga has a lot of benefits. There was a time when, just because of masculinity, I did not ever want to do something like yoga. But once I got over that part, and my anxiety got to a point where I was like, I'll try anything. I did try yoga and I did benefit from yoga. I might try to find an online one. My daughter got, yeah. If anybody's watching this, I know that this is not, I just want to make it clear that this is not like therapeutic advice. This is just personal experience for me. So if you have a situation that feels like a panic attack, it's okay to get it checked. Now, if after you've gotten it checked and it's confirmed that it is just a panic attack from whatever test that you get, then it's time to start thinking about techniques, breathing techniques, and things like that. Yoga with Bird. Oh, I am going to write that down. I actually have a notepad that I write everything down that I'm saying, that I'm going to say on these lives. And also, if I get good things from you guys, I write those down too. Yeah, I'm leaving that comment up there for a little bit. I can't really see how many likes through this third-party app, StreamYard, or I don't know how to see the likes. But if you're in here, if you appreciate the content, you appreciate the page, hit the like button. The like button is free. You don't have to pay anything for that. And the like button helps boost me up in the algorithms so that I can keep providing you guys content like this and more. I have an unlimited amount of content about this topic. Unlimited. So the more that I can monetize and all that good stuff is the more time that I can actually dedicate to this, and hopefully I can start doing things like this all the time. That's my goal. I say it out loud all the time on my channel that my goal is to be able to just be, I guess, a social media influencer who does this all the time instead of like a side gig. Yeah, I just went off on my like tangent. Oh, also free. Also hit the notification bell. If you haven't done so already, I assume most of you, if not all of you, have, but hit the notification bell. Yeah, so that's how positivity saved my life. I was not in a good place. I was not in a good place here. I was not in a good place here. I was just not in a good place. My life was not going how I wanted it to go. The people I had around me were not who I needed. But I didn't realize how much I was contributing to that. Whatever you put out, that's what you get back. Whatever you give, that's what you get. And there's a quote that says, "Your mind is like a garden. Whatever you decide to feed will grow." I don't know if y'all have heard that one before. Subscribe, hit the bell. Triggers. I don't really know why you put that in there, but what I'm going to say about triggers, once you start to learn what your triggers are, you learn ways to avoid the triggers. And I know that some people might say easier said than done. What if your trigger is in your house? What if your trigger is at your job? You know, and that's valid. Those are valid questions, right? That's when you start to work on boundaries. I can't avoid this person who triggers me in the house, but I can control how much of my energy I give that person. Our energy is precious. You got to hold on to that energy at all costs. You can't just be giving it away. Imagine the energy was an actual physical thing that you're holding in front of you, right? And if you hold this energy all day, this positive energy that you pump yourself up with in the morning or you have with you at the beginning of your day, it means that when random things happen that could throw you off, takes a little bit off of that energy ball and a little bit off, but you have the excess to give. Now imagine you get up in the morning, somebody says something to you in your household, you give them a little bit of your energy. And then you go and you watch the news and you're into the news. Then you're into like toxic Twitter, toxic Facebook. Then you're getting into an argument. So this energy ball of positive energy started here in the morning when you woke up. And then it's like here before you left your house. Before you left your house. Then you get outside to face the elements, which you already know. Some of them are unavoidable that they're going to take that energy. You miss the bus. Your boss is something crazy to you at work. There's some things that are just unavoidable and random that are going to take your energy. So you've got to work on the parts that you can control as much as possible. Like somebody has a comment that could throw you off track, but you say to yourself, I'm not going to let this take my positive energy. Shut down the conversation, change the topic, or tell them, I can't talk about this right now. Or I can't talk about this at all. Sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes you have to set a hard boundary. Subscribe, hit the bell, leave a comment after the live. Absolutely. So anyways, y'all, that's the end of my TED Talk, whatever you want to call it. But I'm calling this my Wellness Wednesday talk. I will definitely have another one next Wednesday. You guys can throw me some topics. I got a message that was in a timeout. I'm not sure why either. I did not put it in timeout. Not sure. I didn't see your message though. So, but yeah, I'm definitely gonna be back Wednesday. Every Wednesday, I'm gonna have a different topic. Thanks, y'all, for joining. Appreciate each and every one of you. I'm gonna put this quote back up here because I want y'all to read it again. Happiness is when what you think, what you say, and what you do are in harmony. And I'm going to leave y'all with that message for today. And I also want to say I appreciate our relationships because it helps boost me up. All these comments and all the support and all these people that say they can relate and they benefit from this keeps me going, helps me have constructive things to put my mind on that occupy my mind so that I'm not always stressing over life. You're welcome, Trisha. You're welcome, other Trisha, if that's how you say your name, by the way, because I always don't know if I'm pronouncing your names right. Always beneficial. Have a fabulous evening. Bye for now. See you later. Have a great night, everybody.